The left will never stop their agenda to take over America. You are their enemy, and they will not negotiate. Prepare yourselves. Welcome to the Blue Shark Show with your host, Mike Lang.
Let's take a look at Sam Houston. Now, he's the publisher at the Hood County News.
Hang on, I thought Sam Houston died years ago.
Well, not the real Sam Houston that you see driving down the highway, right? The big statue.
Yeah.
And that's him. But this is another Sam Houston, and, you know, by all accounts, he's a good guy. We disagree sometimes, but he wrote an op-ed, his opinion, which is great. And it says it's time to make fireworks for personal use go up in smoke. So let's take a look at what he said in the article and kind of the story he gave. It's a nice written article. Can't complain about that.
Yeah, I mean, the form of it, okay, it's just the actual subject of what he's advocating. You know, in that article, he was advocating, hey, I don't feel like I can trust everyone else to keep themselves and our community safe because one time when I was a kid, I hurt myself.
He's into the, you know, hey, this is okay for the civic organizations. This is okay for the municipalities, but it's not okay for you commoners, right? So here's this more elitist type attitude of we know what's better for you, and we're going to put this out in an op-ed, which is, you know, his opinion, which is great. So he writes this article, and I thought it was an entertaining article. You know, I like to read it. And he talks about July 4th and tradition, which is great. You know, everybody goes out and has a good time and eats. But then he got into a story, what happened to him when he was about 10 years old. And most of us growing up shot fireworks and did little smoke bombs and things like that. So what he did was, Sam Houston, he took those black cats, those firecrackers that you can unroll like we all did.
Yeah.
And took the gunpowder of that and put it in a little medicine bottle. And this is his story that, you know, he wrote down. He's talking about it. And he was about 10 years old. So he puts it in the medicine bottle and then puts it in a metal car, lights the fuse, and takes off running, right? As a kid, right?
Yeah.
And boom, the thing goes off. And a piece of metal flew from that car and hit him in the arm. And I guess, you know, he's bleeding. He's a kid and everything. He got in trouble probably. And, you know, rightfully so. He should have gotten in trouble. Had it missed him, he probably wouldn't have gotten in trouble. Wouldn't have had to go to his folks or anything like that. And that probably would have been the end of the story. But that being said, what that says is because he did that and got hurt, that's just kind of a story, an antidote of saying, hey, look, we can't handle this on our own. We have to have government intervention. And, you know, the civic organizations, they're good. They know what they're doing because most of them are put in by government anyway. So it goes back to the government. If you like the show, you like what we're doing, please go to thebluesharkshow.com and sign up for our member-only access at $4 a month.
I'm glad that he was honest about it, you know, so at least people can see how liberal and biased that the paper still is in spite of their new owners. But it's real typical for them, and I liked his line in there because it helps expose, you know, these more moderate, I call liberal Republicans that say, well, I'm just as freedom-loving as the next Texan, but...
Oh, that but.
Let me tell you why I need to take away your freedom. You know, I got to, you know, keep up this big government stuff and protect people from themselves because when I was a kid, my parents weren't paying attention and I hurt myself.
But I like individual freedom as much as the next Texan, but. And anything after but, you know, you don't like individual freedom, especially as a Texan.
Yeah.
So, you know, the bomb goes off, and he calls it a bomb, and it was a toy bomb, right? You know, gunpowder in a bottle.
Well, the ATF may classify that as a bomb these days.
And that's the thing. So here he was years and years ago, and I don't know how old Sam is, but, you know, we're not picking on Sam. This is just something to say that, look, you know, this is an op-ed. I get it. Nowadays, ATF would have been called, ATF&E. He probably would have been suspended, if not expelled from school. And under the new red flag laws that they want coming out, His parents' guns probably would have been taken away if his parents didn't have, had guns. And he would have been marked for life, and he probably couldn't even touch another gun. And that's what we're headed for, is something as simple as this.
A kid being dumb.
Yeah. Oh, imagine that. Kids doing stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And now we have to have warnings on everything, like a pizza box. Please do not eat. Well, I think sometimes we should take the warnings off of some of these things, like the pizza boxes, all these stupid things. If people want to eat a pizza box, have at it. I mean, that's a little bit crazy. We need to kind of set those people aside if they're going to start doing that. But, Sam goes on and he talks about, the fireworks and, how good it is. And yes, it's good to have a municipality or some civic organization that comes in and puts out the fireworks. And we've had, people bring up things like dogs, the dogs that go crazy. We have 2 dogs now. They love it. They go outside when they hear it. We've had dogs in the past, several, that will run into the bathroom and jump in the bathtub to hide. So I understand, the sides of people that have the dogs. They don't like the fireworks. They keep their neighbors up, things like that. But it gets to the point where somebody like Sam that thinks he's a conservative or standing for the Constitution totally goes around. And here's another point. Just take this article and take out fireworks and replace it with guns.
Oh, yeah. There's a strong case to be made using his anecdotal evidence and his fouled logic for the leftist mindset. And whenever I saw this, just kind of as a little test, I would take quotes out and send it to people kind of in the activist network. And I'd say, hey, does this sound like a Republican or a Democrat to you? Every one of them said it sounded like a Democrat. I'm just saying.
I get the patriot, everyone wants to be patriotic, right?
He just wants you to get a license for that freedom.
Right. I was going to say everybody wants to be patriotic, but most people want to be patriotic. And I believe Sam Houston wants to be patriotic. I believe he likes the fireworks, like he said. But there's that government control. He wants the government control of what you're going to do, not the individual person or the individual freedoms that we have.
And I also think it's funny, and I see this a lot, especially here in Hood County, percentage-wise, there's not a majority of people in Hood County that live inside city limits. And I think the reason for that is a lot of people favor less government, and that's kind of part of the price you pay if you don't live in a city and you don't live in an HOA, you live in the county. The county, you can go shoot your guns in your backyard if you want to. You can pop fireworks at basically any time of night if you want to.
You can build a range.
You can build a range, exactly, out there outside of Acton. You can do all that stuff because it's your property. And if you live in the city, I can understand saying, hey, they need to enforce this or bring in, police on overtime or whatever because people are popping fireworks. And right now it's illegal in the city. You're not allowed to. And then beyond that, you've got the noise ordinance side of it. I get that for within the city, but when he said, I think these need to be illegal for the entire county, it's like, no, take your big government and get out of here with it. But, that's the Hood County News.
And another instance that, people were talking about were the fires. And it's been really dry here in Texas and really dry in Hood County. We've got some fires going on right now up at Chalk Mountain and in Eagle Mountain. But that's another spot where some counties have said, hey, fire danger, burn ban is a little bit different. It gets a little bit sticky with the fireworks, but it still goes back to personal responsibility.
Oh, yeah. Before July 4th, some of the fireworks vendors said, hey, we're not going to sell, these few types of fireworks that would be more likely to cause a large grass fire. That's self-regulation. You don't need the government in all instances, or even a lot of instances, to help regulate people's behavior. Fortunately, most Americans have a base level of common sense, and especially the ones that are, selling these every year. They don't want the county to burn down because that's bad for business for them too.
I don't take the Hood County News, but somebody sent me this article, and I thought it was something that probably needed to be discussed on where your newspaper kind of stands. it looks at, on the face value, it looks kind of innocuous. It looks almost like, hey, we just all want to have fun, but we want to do it under a little bit of control. And that's that same feeling that's going to go for your fireworks, for your guns, for all the stuff going on in the schools. So
parenting,
yeah.
CPS, that's another organization that would have been involved in his case had that happened today. Is CPS would have been all over his parents.
So it could have had, I don't know how old Sam is, but years and years ago, totally different. Just like carrying guns and things like that, totally different. Now, you're right, CPS, that would have been a big one. If you like the show, you like what we are doing, please go to thebluesharkshow.com and sign up for our member-only access at $4 a month. And a bomb, can you imagine the headlines in the Hood County News? If he'd have done that, he'd have made his own headline.
Yeah. They
bomb goes off.
They love to stretch any fact that they can to fit the narrative. They've proven that over the years.
Glass bomb and metal car injures young 10-year-old. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There'd have been a witch hunt for the parents.
Parents arrested.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, the whole red flag thing, and, Sam, this is something to consider. Do you have a history of destructive behavior that maybe he should be on a red flag?
Well, that's what would be brought up. Now, Sam, I don't know him personally, but by all, everything I see, he seems to be an okay guy. And this is an op-ed, his opinion. And actually, I really did like the article. I like articles that tell stories like that. And really, as a 10-year-old kid, he didn't do anything different than most 10-year-olds back in the day used to do. And you just kind of learn, you learn by your siblings and whoever else, your friends. And
your scars.
Yeah.
They'll teach you a little bit.
Yeah.
I bet he didn't repeat that.
No, he probably didn't. But, I don't know. Let's just say he's in his 60s. So 50 years later, he's going to come back and say, hey, let's stop fireworks because I messed up.
Because I messed up 50 years ago. It's kind of ridiculous, yeah.
But all in all, hey, I think he does love the freedom aspect of it. And the fireworks, of course, he says he does. I believe he does. It's just something we need to point out that it's a little bit strange that you see this all just kind of embodied in an article, but just move it to guns.
Yeah.
And that's where it's going.
Well, and, how many times have you heard a politician say, oh, I support the Second Amendment, but I'm all for common sense gun reform.
Yeah.
And I think that only licensed people should be able to sell, possess, or, fire any sort of firearm. That you see where that logic can really transfer over into other areas and people like him. And I do have to disagree with you, not to be rude, but I don't think he appreciates the freedom aspect of this. Because if you appreciated the freedom aspect of it, he would say, I was a dumb kid and I did something stupid. But that's not a reason to ban fireworks in the entire county.
I'm using that as a story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when you look at, I'm for the Second Amendment, but it's usually followed with, I'm a hunter, and I've been a hunter for 6 generations of my family. We've been hunters. And when you hear that, run for the hills.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have no idea what the Second Amendment's about.
Yeah, it's not about hunting deer.
No, it's not.